Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all. Best TV car.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcast should have a theme song. Podcast should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
Hal, this is a great day for podcasting for us.
It really is.
Isn't it?
It is.
This is our second recording of the day. Our first recording was Classic Conversations, and we had an absolute blast chatting with Jeff Dwoskin, who has interviewed some of to the people of the world, your favorite people. He has interviewed. We were honored to get to be on his show, and he has come on our show right now. What's up, Jeff?
The honor is mine to have you on my show.
Dude, before we get started on this, I want to know, what was it like to interview Jesus himself?
Ted Neely?
Ted Neely, yeah. The only person who at 60, I believe, still was playing Jesus.
He's still playing Jesus.
He's still doing it.
Wow.
He still tours and he does Q&As with the film. I didn't know who Ted Neely was.
Yeah. For those who don't, Jesus Christ Superstar, the movie, he's Jesus in that, and is still touring the show playing Jesus in assorted versions.
Right. From the 1970s, that Jesus Christ Superstar movie. And, before that, he was in, Hair, and then he did a couple other musicals.
Oh, cool.
And a friend of mine was a passionate fan of Ted Neely. And Ted Neely has passionate fans.
If you're Jesus Christ, your fans are going to
This
be
guy
fans.
not only played Jesus Christ, he looks like Jesus Christ. Like when you picture, And so they had a documentary coming out for it, Superstars. So I ended up watching the movie so I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, would you like to be on my podcast? And he's like, sure. And so I was like, cool. And then I'm like, oh, okay. When people say yes, that's when the work begins. Right?
Sure.
Right? Like when you pick a topic for the show, that's when the work begins. So growing up, I had never seen Jesus Christ Superstar just because being Jewish, it just wasn't on the,
Sure, you guys are the bad guys.
Right. Exactly.
Thanks for reminding me of that, Mark. I appreciate it. Every day he reminds me of that, even outside
I do.
This.
I just text him every morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I watch it, taking notes. I mean, I know the basic story, but
Sure.
And so when I was meeting with him and talking with him, I mean, we started laughing and we clicked right away. Mostly because before the show started in the documentary, they sang, In the Jungle. A bunch of them do that a cappella. Mm-hmm. And I had a funny, sex story from college involving that song. And I told it to him before the show, which was having, can I say this story? As long as I don't swear, right? It's like,
sure.
Okay. So
sure.
We went up north, in college and sex was new. Yay. And so, I have sex with my girlfriend. And then just for some reason, I'm upstairs and my friends are downstairs with their girlfriends. And I'm just sitting in the bed and all of a sudden I just mumble to myself, in the jungle, the mighty jungle. And then from below in two separate rooms, you hear a wee moap, a wee moap.
Which means if they heard that.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
That's the part I block out. But God bless them for that 2-minute interruption.
Amen.
Isn't that how the Manson family started? The same way.
Yeah. They all met by Awima weighing their way into each other.
They love the tokens.
Oh my God.
But such a nice guy. Jesus was such a nice guy. He's everything you'd hope Jesus would be.
Oh, good.
Thank goodness.
Right? Well, we're not here to talk about Jesus or having sex to The Lion Sleeps Tonight. No, we're here to talk about TV cars. And this topic was suggested by E. Clayton Harland II, who I am assuming is a direct descendant of someone very important with a name like E. Clayton Harlan II, and Christopher Beatty. So multiple people have requested this. This was also in the Facebook group. So shout out to everyone who put this idea out there. Did you guys, when you heard the topic, best TV car, did a bunch jump into your mind? Did one jump into your mind? How did you approach this topic?
Yeah, you picked it too. We gave you a couple choices. This is the one you picked. What made you choose it?
I had a few that popped right into my head. And then once you kind of like sit on it for a minute, you start to realize, oh, there's a lot of classic TV cars. And you can go pretty deep on this. I was thankful we limited it just to TV. Mm-hmm. But yeah, oh my gosh, they just started popping in my head left and right. So I started taking notes.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, which one do I like the best? I mean, I think I know, but
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, and this is really for all of us to figure out. Are we going to limit this to live action television, or are we going to include cars from animated series?
That's a great question, because I have the Footmobile from the Flintstones written down.
Okay. So then I guess we are including,
we'll keep that as, I think we can keep that as a category.
Yeah, I don't know. Mark's usually the structure guy. I'm like, I wrote these down so I don't forget them. Yeah. But, like I always just say, we'll throw them out there and talk about them. But do you have a way you want to do this, Mark?
Yeah, I think a way to do this, to divide it up that I think will be fun is, we can keep it pretty freewheeling like we do on many episodes. I've got it divided into several categories. I don't have specific, cars for each category, but I would like to posit that we break it into a few categories and then maybe pull, if there's not one that comes out of a category, great. If there's two that come out of a category, but we can just to give us a way to talk about it, divide them up into a few categories. And why not start with animated cars? If we're going to divide it into categories, let's start with the A's and go animation. And I figure with each of these, we can just throw out the ones that we think are contenders. We'll be like we'll be like Oliver Reed in Gladiator and just, these are my gladiators. And we'll each bring our Magic the Gathering cards to this particular game.
Just like Oliver Reed did in Gladiator.
Exactly.
I'm going to play these cards now.
Yeah. This one, I have a Maximus. Let's start with the great animated cars.
I have 6 that I wrote down. The Footmobile's definitely on there. Talk about the Footmobile a little bit, Jeff.
I mean, it's the classic, green car, right?
Yeah.
No engine, no fumes.
That's true.
Right. And so, you got it. To me, it was like, it was a cool car. And just let me preface by saying, I know nothing about cars from a literal sense. Like my car that I drive, I know the key starts it and it gets me where I need to go. So
remind us what city you're in?
Detroit, just outside. Just outside.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. So just most of my opinions are going to be based on visual. Right?
Of course.
Visual
yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't think we need to get into like, what do you think the horsepower is on that Footmobile? Well, he's got pretty fat cankles. I'm sure he can push that thing pretty fast. But it was a Groof Eppert, right? Didn't they all have to
Did you just call it a Groof Eppert?
Yeah, it's fine. Don't edit that out.
Listen, Groof Eppert was one of the creators of some of these great classic cars. But he never gets the credit he deserves because because autocorrect takes away his legacy every time. Sorry, that was really dumb.
Oh my God. Yeah. They all made the car go, right? It wasn't just him. Didn't they all have to?
How many? Yeah.
To it?
It probably only worked when it wasn't raining, right? It was basically an open car.
Yeah. As vehicles go, it feels like more of an impediment than a help.
Yeah.
Like it feels like of all the cars that we're going to talk about, it's a delightful car and they can take it to the drive-in and everything. This car feels like walking would be easier.
Well, it's in context, right? You got to you got to put yourself in the caveman mentality. And
hang on.
Think like,
okay. Now I'm there.
Right now, well, nothing else is there. So now it's like I'm walking everywhere, right? And getting eaten by dinosaurs. And so here I am in a slightly protective thing.
So the footmobile is it's not about propulsion. It's like a big turtle shell. It's just to protect you from dinosaurs.
It's a combination. Think about the joy you had with the Atari 2600 versus playing like a Madden football today. It's night and day. You can't compare it.
Yeah.
But when you were playing Atari 2600, it was the greatest thing in the history of that moment, right? So they've somehow figured out the wheel. And now they can move you faster. So,
Jeff, we talked on Classic Conversations. We talked a little bit about impressions, impersonations, and you brought up the Atari 2600. Would you like to hear my impression of Atari 2600 basketball?
Of course.
Do you remember? You played basketball okay. This is what it sounds like. And somebody comes and steals it. Waving arm, holding it. Thank you.
That impression was half visual.
I know. Me doing the wavy arm. Sometimes we just do it for us.
By the way, from Ken Plume, we are being corrected. It is not the Footmobile. It is the Flintmobile. And it is not a group effort because according to the song, courtesy of Fred's 2 Feet.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So it was in fact. And so basically it's like, hey, Fred, do you like walking? Okay, we're going to put this giant thing around you. And now your walking is also going to have to propel the rest of your family.
Hey, Doc, I can't feel my ankles.
All right. I'll throw one out there for animated television cars from, I believe this started in the 1960s. Ken, jump in the chat and let me know if that is true. And I will say the Scooby-Doo Gang's Mystery Machine.
Yes. 1969.
1969, just barely in there.
Yes.
Yeah. I can say no more other than I love the Mystery Machine. I love the colors. I love the style.
The ultimate hippie van.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Just Scooby snacks. Just chilling in a van eating snacks all day.
Yeah.
You pull up in the Mystery Machine, you're making a statement.
Yeah. You ever see one in the wild?
That mystery.
Yeah, right.
Mystery be damned. We're about to solve you.
Yeah. Yeah. Any nefarious figures in the town, usually the mayor or some sort of high powered business person who's trying to take over whatever broken down area it is. You're screwed if you see that Mystery Machine roll into your town center. Like, what are they doing at the diner?
Don't they dress up in disguise sometimes I feel like Shaggy and Scooby have gone undercover or gone in disguise in episodes, but there's everybody saw a Great Dane and a hippie get out of a green, blue, and orange van.
Yeah.
And snoop around with the other 3 teenagers.
Right.
It's not practical as far as that goes, but it is beautiful. You can't talk about animated cars and not bring that up.
Yeah.
I think you could do a Mystery Machine impression. It could probably be your basketball one, but just the dribbling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're going over a rocky road.
The Mystery Machine's here.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, thank goodness. Are you sure that's the Mystery Machine? That's not a hippie and a Great Dane. That is a nice elderly woman and a very tall Boy Scout.
At first, I thought it was someone playing basketball, but then I looked out the window.
I didn't see that hand waving.
Yeah. I didn't hear the beat that we all know happens when the ball goes through the hoop.
All right, Jeff, who do you have on your list of animated vehicles that we haven't talked about?
The only other one I can even think of is, you'll have to tell me if this counts, the Jetsons flying aero car.
Sure.
I think, so.
Fits in a briefcase.
Yeah. And so, that one would be, the only other one. Those 3 are the ones that really come to mind when I think animated fake cars.
Yeah.
That they're really good ones. That one is fun. I always think of it more as a flying saucer, but it is a car. It is a car. I know everybody considers it a car.
If it's getting into, it does get into traffic. You know what I mean? Like it's the morning commute. It's got that. The best thing about that is the Elroy launcher. That you just push a button on it and Elroy drops out in his own little pod that sends him off to school. Like, I am not a parent, but I imagine that there are many parents out there who at some point after hearing one too many, are we there yet, would like to just hit a button that sends their kid out to their school via an escape pod. Yeah, that to me is the most delightful element of the Jetsons briefcase car.
Yeah.
I'll throw out the Gadget Mobile. The Gadget Mobile, which had an ejector seat. It had an extendable claw. It could go from van to sports car. So, that's a bit of a transformation, not quite a transformer.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if it ever found itself underwater, it could propel itself with hilarious gas, not laughing gas, hilarious gas, which I guess is high octane laughing gas.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all for the Gadget Mobile.
I mean, if you like a car that has a lot of gadgets, then look no further than the Mach 5 from Speed Racer.
That's true.
The ultimate in luxury and gadgets.
Are you selling us right now? Is that what you're doing? You're selling
I gotta move these off the lot. I paid too much. I got a lot of inventory. We gotta move these.
The Mach 6 is coming in. You gotta clear out the Mach 5s.
They're at the port. Listen, I'm gonna give you a deal on this. You like a car that can go stilts? You can pop the tires of the other cars. There are buttons on here. We don't even know what they do. We're not supposed to touch them. We can't read the instruction booklet. Literally, we can't understand it. But you can get someone to it's for a song. You can have it, and you can figure it out. I mean, it is a classic car, right? Like it is
oh yeah.
I kind of like the Flintstones car more though.
The Flintstones car feels more iconic.
Yeah.
But that's because I think those episodes have lasted longer. There was the Speed Racer reboot in the 90s, the anime version, but I don't know that it clicked into America's, psyche the way that the Flintstones did. And
it's a little more niche.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Speed Racer? Jeff, were you a Speed Racer?
I don't think I ever watched Speed Racer. I don't think I ever did.
I'll just summarize it for you so you don't have to watch. Every episode, there's a race. Every episode.
Oh, every race?
Every episode. Yeah. The little kid and the monkey sneak into the car even though they're not supposed to be there. He almost gets killed. Racer X helps him. Racer X is his brother because he's like driving. He's like, I can't tell Speed Racer that I'm his brother. And then that's sort of, I think there were two partners, even some of them. They're enjoyable for what they are, but I think the car, it's an iconic car, but I don't think it would be the best one.
No.
Because I also think it's up there, but if you put brontosaurus ribs on it, it would probably just crush the chassis. I feel like the Flintmobile, you could just push, but like that thing gets turned over all the time. Like the brontosaurus that he works on will tip it over by mistake. Like it's just like it's a more practical car, even though I don't know how they turn it. It's just two stone rollers.
That's true. It is more of a steamroller than a car.
Yeah.
Right. They're probably like praying for hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no sharp turns. Where do you want to go? Somewhere that's straight ahead, like 50 yards away? No problem.
Yeah. Fantastic. Anything on a 1% grade? Nope. We'll stay right here where we are. Thank you.
That steering wheel in the front is a dream. That thing doesn't work. There's no way.
Yeah. Yeah. The mechanics of that steering wheel is just for show. Yeah. If we're sticking with animated cars, by the way, I want to give a shout out to From Wacky Races, what I think is the best of the cars in Wacky Races, though it never wins because he is too kind and he always just stops to help people. And that is the number 3 car, the Convert a Car, which is made by an inventor and can turn into anything. I guess I'm just stuck on cars that can transform into other cars, which leads us to one more animated car or collection of animated cars, the Transformers. Thoughts? Are they actually cars or is car just a disguise?
I think that's just a disguise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when he's like all Bumblebee's all not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are robots in disguise. So is that knocking them out on a technicality?
I think you have to be a car at least 75% of the time for this game.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
The best TV car needs to be at least 3/4 of its time spent as a car.
Yeah, like he doesn't say, all right, guys, I'm going to sleep, and then then turn into a truck and just park. Like there's no way. He stretches out. He's got a bed. Yeah.
He has a special area at all the rest stops off of the freeway. There's like just this giant bed for Optimus Prime.
Do you think there's one Transformer, one of the Autobots who won't turn back into a robot, just enjoys being a car too much?
Yeah.
Like feels a freedom of responsibility they never felt before.
They'll cover that topic when they've run out of other movies to make. They'll just
Transformers Dark of the Carpool.
It's just always a car.
Yeah.
All right. So, is there any other animated cars? Who do we think might come out of this category? Are there any of them that can compete coming out of this section?
With a real car?
With yeah. I mean, just as far as best television car.
I think the Mystery Machine can compete. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll pull the Mystery Machine out and add that. That is the first of our categories that is going to, that is the first victor of a category. Now I would like to move on to another category. This category is going to be mostly 70s, maybe early 80s cars, maybe a couple from the 60s, but that is, of course, the muscle car. There's a couple of muscle cars that are not known for being muscle cars. They're known for other things that they do. So we can save those for other categories later on, but there are some that are simply just cool muscle cars. I'll throw out one, and it is the 1986 Ferrari Testarossa from Miami Vice, driven by Crockett, simply because of the crazy story that goes with this. You guys know about this Ferrari story?
No.
So for the first 2 seasons of Miami Vice, Ferrari would not give production a Ferrari to shoot with. So they took a different car model and they dressed it to look like a Ferrari. Or somebody had dressed it to make a replica of a Ferrari. The production company that was making the show bought it, Universal, I think. And then that played a Ferrari on the show, even though it wasn't actually a Ferrari. The Ferrari company found this out, sued the manufacturer of the replica, and offered to the production of the show, look, we don't want you using that anymore. Fine. We will give you a Ferrari. So the black Ferrari that Crockett had in the first 2 seasons, episode 1 of season 3, they blew it up with a missile and gave him this amazing white 1986 Testarossa that he drove for the rest of the series. Again, a very flashy car like the Mystery Machine for a person who frequently has to be undercover.
Wow.
So that is the first one that is going into the muscle car category, I think. What do you guys got as far as just cool muscle cars?
I have the Ford Gran Torino from Starsky and Hutch.
Ah, yes. The striped tomato.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
It is a red car with a white.
And they just beat the crap out of it. Yeah. They just run into things.
Yes. I think I read that, they hated the car. They just hated it because I guess it didn't handle well at all. It was
no kidding,
horrible to drive.
Right.
And, and Paul Michael Glazer or David Soul, one of them just wished it would just die forever. But it's got that signature white stripe and, it's just that red car. It's iconic, in that sense. Ford Grand, a lot of Fords, wasn't it? We got to go back to the 60s though, because some of the greatest ones are in the 60s.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if this counts. Oh, this is, that is it is an iconic car. I think people probably remember that more than anything else they would remember from Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
Outside of like Huggy Bear. Like those are the 2 things. If you asked me to, like, what do I identify? The car, the Gran Torino and Huggy Bear. Those are the 2 things. So that is a really good one. I'm trying to stay away from ones that also have a ton of gadgets in them because I feel like that's its own thing.
Yeah.
So I'll go with, I feel like it's weird if we don't talk about the General Lee, even though it's not great to have something with the stars and bars on it driving around.
Yeah.
But it is a classic car. When I was a kid, I watched Dukes of Hazzard all the time. I thought it was so cool to watch it jump. It was fast. The doors didn't work, so they had to jump in the windows. It was like everything I thought a car would be when I learned how to drive. And then It was not at all. I don't want to jump in a window ever.
We're all on Twitter now. Hashtag cancel hell.
Oh no.
Yeah. I was, you know what? And it's funny. You mentioned that. I was thinking that earlier. I knew this was a conversation we were going to have because, generally it is many things all at once. It is on the negative side, a very negative side. And I think our job is to figure out how much of a demerit it receives for having a Confederate flag on the roof and, perpetuating the notion. Originally, it was not orange. It was going to be, quote, Confederate gray. The idea that the Confederacy was just a bunch of rebels who were going against the evil boss hogs of the towns, for perpetuating that notion that flag meant something other than what it actually meant.
There was a lot of Burt Reynolds, The South is Hot. It was kind of born in that time period. So there was this it wasn't even the astoundingly stupid heritage, not hate argument. It was more like, what is the South? The South is this. Yeah. So we'll put this on the car. I mean, you would think, but the orange was a good call. It would have looked dumb if it was gray. Right. It is a beautiful car in shape, and it was cool to watch it drive. But I also think I probably have 6 better cars that we haven't even talked about yet.
I think this one, though, I gotta say, maybe this is as growing up watching the show, it feels like aside from, maybe this knocks it down to out of the top 6, the Confederate flag on the roof. And shout out to the person who purchased the original very first car and wanted to, I don't know if he ever ultimately did, swap out the Confederate flag on the roof for an American flag. I don't know if he ever actually went through with that, but I think this has to be on the medal podium for me of, aside, if it weren't for the heritage involved, and that I think is what we need to figure out, again, how much of a demerit that it winds up getting for that reason. Because, of all the cars, it jumped the stats on this car are wild. It jumped an average of twice per episode, which means there were a minimum of 296 times that car was jumped, which means they made roughly 320 of them over the life of the series. Only 17 of them still exist. The car is arguably more of a character, a more memorable character from the show than anything else. Johnny Cash recorded a song from the point of view of the car. I'm a Charger. It is inarguably high up on the list. But again, that rebel flag on the roof is a real turnoff.
I agree with everything you said. If you grew up watching the show, meaning you were a kid watching it, which I qualify as a kid. Yeah. I didn't have that context. Right or wrong, right? And so, the General Lee was, to me, the coolest car ever, right? It was just the greatest. I had the little Matchbox car. Yep. If I see it driving on the road, one of the I'll follow it and take a picture. There's something also, but I think for us where it triggers that show as well. Yeah. Right. Yeah. The Dukes of Hazzard was just one of those shows that I think everybody watched. It was just part of pop culture at the time. And, and the problematic nature of it came much, much, much later. We became aware of the problematic nature of it much, much, much later. It existed at the time as well. But
sure.
Yeah. But I do, and I think I could easily pick a different car as my favorite car anyway. Yeah. While still acknowledging that any symbolism aside, it's definitely, right up there. Now you imagine someone today seeing it for the first time, they go, oh, WTF, right? It's they wouldn't get it and it wouldn't make any sense and they would get the context. So that's where, I don't think it would make the list.
Yeah. Why don't we do this? Why don't we ponder this And we will let the people of the world out there ponder this as well while we take a brief break to find out about some of the other fantastic shows on the Maximum Fun Network. And when we come back, we will dive into some more cars that we think are up there on that Olympic podium, that very large Olympic podium, because it's got to fit 3 whole cars on it. But we're going to come up with the best TV car. We'll be right back.
Greatest Trek is the podcast for all your modern Star Trek needs. It's funny, informative, and now it's also timely.
That's because every Friday, right after the release of a new episode of Strange New Worlds, Picard, Lower Decks, Discovery, or Prodigy, we bring you a review of that episode.
There's some great new Star Trek coming up, and we're going to cover all of it.
You'll like our show because we're both former video producers, so we bring a lot of insight into the production and filmmaking aspects to these episodes.
And we also have a very refined sense of humor, so we make lots of delightful fart jokes along the way.
So come see why Greatest Trek is one of the most popular television recap podcasts on all of the internet.
Subscribe to Greatest Trek at MaximumFun.org or in the podcast app you're using right now.
Hey there, this is Drea Clark.
This is Alonzo Duralde.
And this is Sparta.
Iffy.
Listen, I got 300 on the brain. We just watched the movie 300 in honor of our 300th episode of Maximum Film.
That's right. And to celebrate this major milestone, we brought back original co-hosts Ricky Carmona and April Wolf.
But just for this one episode, right?
Oh, Iffy, you know we could never replace you.
Some of the voices have changed over the years. Heck, the name of the show has changed too. But through it all, Maximum Film remains
the movie podcast that isn't just a bunch of straight white guys. Deal with it.
Find this and all 300 episodes of Maximum Film anytime on MaximumFun.org.
If we want to talk a little bit more about just iconic non-gadget cars, what about the Ferrari 308 GTS that Magnum P.I. drove around Hawaii?
The Robin one!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a beautiful Ferrari.
Pretty.
Yeah. You know what it's not designed for? Tom Selleck's body. That's why they always had the T-top off of it, because Tom Selleck is too dang tall for that car. And watch any episode of that show, his head is poking out the top of the car. You know what he needed? He needed a Chrysler Sebring. It's the convertible for the ample man, according to Eric Edelstein, who used to drive a Chrysler Sebring and who is 6.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
But you know what Tom Selleck did have? Detroit
what did he
Tigers
have?
Cap.
That's right. Oh,
huge Detroit Tigers fan. Sure.
Jeff, we try to discover the answer as objectively as possible. Can you be objective when talking about a Ferrari whose driver was always wearing a Detroit hat?
Yes, I can be. I swear.
I would believe you.
I swear on my conversation with Jesus. I can.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's not. I feel like a lot of these cars are just I guess the question is sort of what are we looking for? Because that is a very lovely car that was used a lot in the series. Is it a combination of the aesthetics and how it was used, like its function, and maybe how important it was to the show? Like, would it have been any different a show if he was driving around in like a Volvo?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, maybe a Volvo
would have been hot.
A VW Bug.
Yeah. Imagine how he would stick out of that. He would look like the car was changing into a werewolf.
Hal,
I mean, Mr. Bean's Mini.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking about that. To me, the best car is the one that I would buy and drive everywhere. Like, I would love to. I'm pulling up at your house for that barbecue in this car.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, I like that.
That's a good way of putting it. I think it's also going to be a car where its silhouette, you would know it by its silhouette. Maybe that could be a criteria. Just like immediate, like, the Flintmobile. If you just see the outline of the Flintmobile, you know it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anyway, that's just one other criteria. Do we think that it's hard for me not to, out of the muscle car category, bring the General Lee? We can leave the Confederate flag at the starting gate.
Paint over it. Or do what this person did and put an American flag on the top. Sure.
Is there anything else we want?
Why don't we just name it most controversial?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we're done. Everybody take a break.
Yeah.
I do have one more in this category.
Okay.
Which is from the Rockford Files, the Pontiac Firebird Esprit. Do you have that? Are you looking at that too?
Watch, now I'm crossing that off my list too now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a bajillion cars on mine. John Voight's LeBaron, another, we were talking about that a while ago.
From Seinfeld. Yeah.
Seinfeld. All right. Now, this will be a fun category, I hope. Based on and inspired by the work of the great George Barris, let's talk about some unique creations that are not necessarily any actual car that you could buy and modify.
Oh, wait. Should I throw two more in the old category just to see it? Let me just run these past you.
In the muscle car category?
Yeah, in the muscle. Well, it seems like functional car.
Yeah.
We call it functional car because a lot of those aren't,
George Barris made functional cars. Slap him in the face.
Yeah.
Sorry.
How dare you?
They are drivable. I understand. I apologize. I've more run of the mill, like a paint job happened. Right. One is the A-Team's AMC Vandura.
I can't believe I forgot to mention that.
Oh,
yes.
You're right. That was the 80s.
Yeah.
Yes.
Van with a spoiler.
Yeah, I have that one too. Yeah. The only way to get B.A. Baracus around.
Yeah.
Yes. Outside of drugging his milk and making him parachute out of a plane.
He ain't getting on no plane, Hannibal.
Yeah, I'm not getting on no plane, Hannibal. And the other is the Partridge Family bus, which is just a bus, but painted up nice.
Yeah,
and
it's got a cool paint job. Yeah.
Their instruments. I wouldn't want to, the A-Team van would be kind of cool to have, although I think it'd be easy for someone to go like, why is he driving around in that windowless van everywhere?
Yeah.
The A-Team van is like the mercenary version of the Mystery Mobile.
Yes.
Yeah. If the Mystery Mobile had guns and shag carpeting. Oh, it probably did have shag carpeting.
And was covert.
Yeah.
Like you didn't know they were in the underground helping people.
Yeah.
On the run for a crime they didn't commit.
Could you imagine the A-Team van with the Mystery Machine paint job? Guys, you're doing a terrible job of being on the lam.
Murdoch would be dead already. There'd be blood all over that jacket and hat. Oh.
All right. I'm going to throw a couple out. Let's jump to the unique vehicle world, including George Barris. There's an obvious one I'm not going to mention yet because we'll probably get into the weeds on that one, but I would like to throw out a couple of his other absolute classics. And that is the Munster coach, which was made out of 3 Model T Fords and a hearse, and with the coffin handles on the sides of the engine in the front, spider web rear view mirrors, a delightful car. And then, of course, one that was found behind a Fontana feed store, a 1921 Oldsmobile touring car that was turned into the vehicle that the Beverly Hillbillies drove across the country in. I just love George Barris's work. I think he made the coolest, most fun stuff. I'm sad to say that his showroom, which is a mile down the street from me, recently closed, which is very sad. Because it was cool. He just, he's the guy, I don't know. He was 80, 20 years ago, right? Like, I don't know if anyone was taking on the mantle of what he did. Like, George Barris's custom cars. I don't know if he died or if it was just
he's still alive?
He might still be alive and retired. I don't know. I didn't do a Where Are They Now of George Barris. I just remember that in the news a couple of years ago, they closed down, his custom auto shop just down the street from me in Toluca Lake, which was very sad. The
fascinating thing about George Barris when we talk about this one and the other one I think we'll talk about in a second is he made them both in like, you got 2 weeks.
Yeah.
No time at all.
No
they
time.
Put together these extremely iconic, like the Munster coach has got to be up there because that became part of that show. Tremendous as well. Anytime that whole family, Herman and all of them, where Butch Patrick has it now, and Dragula, which he also.
Yes, Dragula's. That's so good. Grandpa's car.
Was that? I didn't remember Grandpa's car too.
He's a drag racer.
Yeah,
Dragula.
Oh my God.
Barris also. And Butch Patrick has them and he tours with them and all that. But
that's so cool. Good for him.
Yeah, that one's a classic. That was top of my list too.
Honestly, as much as I love those two cars, if Butch Patrick was also touring with the car that he drove through the Phantom Toll Booth in the 1960s or early 70s movie, I would probably burst into tears if I saw it.
Aww.
It would be like the first time I saw the Muppet of Sprocket from Fraggle Rock. And he's in front of me. That Sprocket car. Butch Patrick has bought the cars from everything he's ever done and just brings them out.
Oh, I love that.
I love that. I love that for him.
That's like his passion was like race car driving and stuff like that.
That's so cool.
Before we get to the big one in this category of oddball cars, more shout outs. You have any more shout outs? Because I have 2 more shout outs I would like to give.
Well, I have 2. I mean,
what do you got?
What do you have?
I got the Monkey Mobile.
Yes, I had that too. Awesome. Is that that's a Barris also? Fantastic. Indirectly. Okay.
George Barris bought the second Monkey Mobile, added a few modifications of his own, and then in 2008 sold it for $396,000. Now, to put that in perspective, when the show ended, they had one and they sold it for, I think, $2,000.
Yeah.
So George Barris took it, souped it up, and then was able to turn it for quite a pretty penny. I was in front of the Monkey Mobile once. I think I have a picture with Mickey Dolenz in front of the Monkey Mobile.
That's so cool.
From a Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful car.
I'll throw out the stair car from Arrested Development.
I have that on my list.
Me too.
The stair car is so fun and weird.
For hop-ons.
Yeah. The stairs from a private jet that the family no longer has is now a car.
Yeah.
And because the writers of that TV show are so good, like, I just love the idea that they said, okay, here is this vehicle. Go nuts, writers, whatever you can come up with. And they're like, Prison Break. And like, just whatever that car could possibly be it's so fun.
Yeah.
So funny.
It's a great character on that show.
Shall we talk about George Barris's,
The Dong Show?
Yeah. George Barris's in my opinion, greatest achievement.
I have one more. I don't know if this is George Barris yet, because I do want to get into that car. And that is, did he design Black Beauty for Green Hornet? Is that him as well?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if that was him.
Imperial Crown. It's got the missiles that drop, drop down. It's a cool gadget car. It was
surveillance drone pops out of it.
Yeah. It was the cool gadget car before. I believe it predates the car we're about to talk about, which you can't.
Drum roll.
Well, I'm not sure if this falls into the muscle car thing, but we might need to double back on Kit.
Oh, we'll
get
to.
Kit is in this category.
Oh, is it?
You think it's in this category? I thought Kit would be in the gadget car category.
Oh, is there
these are gadget cars?
Well, this is a gadget.
Or are we talking about gadget car? Because you mentioned gadget cars before. I feel like Kit. This feels like I'm not gonna. Okay, look, we've been beating around the bush here. This feels like a 2-way race at this point for me between the Batmobile and Kit from Knight Rider.
Okay.
George Barris's classic Batmobile. Are there any others that we haven't talked about yet that we think are contenders? Fred Sanford's red 1951 F-100 truck from the opening credits of Sanford and Son.
It's classic.
It is a classic.
The Batmobile is one of the greatest cars of all time.
It's perfect.
Yes. It is a 1955 Lincoln Futura. It's a concept car. Mm-hmm. So it was not mass produced. It was the only one of its kind, basically.
He bought it for $1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you interviewed Burt Ward before. Did Burt have any stories about the Batmobile?
I don't recall him having any specific stories. No, but I did. I don't know if he told me this, but I read it, but there was no air conditioning.
Ooh. And there was also, you couldn't put the windows down because it was just the 2 bubbles.
Right.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. What's crazy is they didn't have to do much to it. You know what I mean? It had been in a movie 2 years prior, a Debbie Reynolds movie, right? And it basically looked identical. The 2 bubbles were there. Most of the lines were there. They just added a few things. They put the exhaust, I think it's a coffee can that they put on the back to make the exhaust blaster, with the flames. Mm-hmm. But it's just like, what a serendipitous thing. And by the way, one of the saddest things about that showroom closing was that the Batmobile was parked right. It looked like a car garage, like where they would work on cars, parked right inside, just on the other side of the glass. And there it was, the beautiful Batmobile.
And now you're going to steal it.
I'm going to steal the Batmobile.
You are Batman.
That's right.
He made hundreds of modifications, slight modifications, like the bat symbol. And then they changed the steering wheel, I guess, because it was like a U. And then,
it was an Edsel.
Yeah. And so, Adam West complained about that. So they just replaced it with a stock wheel from an Edsel, right?
Yeah.
And then, What else? There was 3 of them created. And in 2013, Barris sold the original for $4.6 million. So that's probably to pay for that garage.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And then it sold again for undisclosed. So probably even more than that.
Had to.
Yeah.
How many? So they made 3 of them for the series? Cause I know they said it was 2 of them were on a different.
Well, 3 replicas. So does that mean 4?
Right. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Cause there was
the
only.
original was that concept car.
It was there was that only one of the Futura, right?
Yeah. Didn't they used like a different chassis? Didn't they like at some point use something similar and just build it out? Maybe. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was, I don't know if it was the body too. I think it was cool. I found out that, in the comic books, way, like in the early days of the comic books, the car that Batman would drive was a Lincoln then. So I think it was cool and just serendipitous that it was a Lincoln again. Yeah. With the bat head.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Right. Yeah. Man. And this to me is
want to drive. If you could drive it every day, you would drive it every day, right, Jeff?
Yeah. And I would get a cowl.
Like if you get the outfit.
Would you get the Adam West cowl or would you go a different version of the Batman?
I think it would be blasphemy to wear.
Yeah. To wear any different cowl.
And I love other Batman. So that's not, Batmen. That's not what I'm saying. But I think if you're in that Batmobile, you got to wear an Adam West cowl, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It has to have the eyebrows painted on it.
You got to respect.
It's so good. For me, that was, I know your criterion was, if you could, it's the one you would want to drive up to someone's house for a party. And boy, does this fit. You won't have to field the questions you would have to field if you drove up in a General Lee. Well, it would just be awesome.
We may need separate categories, like, the same criteria, but if I'm married or if I'm single.
Right. That's a very good point.
My wife's not letting me drive up in the Batmobile.
Right.
Oh my God. If that thing doesn't have air conditioning, and I put my wife Jennifer in it, it would be, I don't think we would even get out of the garage.
If the air conditioning is the only complaint she has about driving around to your friend's house in the Batmobile, then you're blessed, my friend. You're blessed.
I am.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very blessed, that for sure. I think she'd be okay with it. I don't know that she would want to be in it all the time. That's true. Like like every once in a while, like, oh yeah, fun. But then you get in there and it's a hot box.
But it's also like, what's great, it's the double bubble with the glass. That to me is, it's like, hey, do you want to be in a convertible, but not in a convertible? Would you like to be in a car with another person, but also in a version of a car that you could not talk to them because you each have your own individual glass bubble? That to me is hilarious. The idea of trying to have doing a road trip in the Batmobile when you've got just glass covering each of you individually.
So lonely.
Yeah. It feels like a very lonesome, like, hey, can you change the song on the radio? What? But for me, the thing was the silhouette test. And I think this one definitely passes the silhouette test with flying colors.
Right. The Mystery Machine and the A-Team would likely have the same silhouette.
Exactly.
They would. They're very similar cars. Yeah.
Just the spoiler. That A-Team spoiler.
Does the Mystery Machine not have a spoiler?
No, I don't think so.
Why did my voice just get so high when I said
Does the Mystery Machine have a spoiler?
Spoiler?
You got excited. Huh?
I'm so excited about these cars because I know we're about to talk about Kit, and I'm really excited.
I mean, come on.
Night Industries 2000.
Yeah, that's right. Can you give his introduction if you were introducing yourself to us?
Oh gosh.
For the first time we get in the car. No, you don't have to do anything directly from. I just want to hear the impression because one of the characters on the Thrilling Adventure Hour that Hal played was literally written in the script as William Daniels Hal.
Because that's how I started doing it. Yeah. Hello, Michael. I'm activating the turbo boost. I had a plastic kit that was like a decent size, and it came with a Michael Knight figure, and you would pull down the license plate, and it would say a bunch of like, I'm activating the turbo boost. So
I had that same thing. Oh my gosh.
I ran that
just flooded
off the stairs until it was like, like I broke it.
Until it went Hal on you.
Now Jeff, you probably see all the old Star Wars toys behind me that I've been collecting. They're all still in the box. So I'm like trying to get everything back from my childhood, which is real healthy. But that is one that I loved so much that I miss. That just so beautiful. And it made that noise that from the front, like again, like unmistakable silhouette because of that red light that goes, that's on the very front where
the origin of that is the Cylons from Battlestar Galactica.
Oh yeah. Weren't they both Glenn Larson shows?
Glenn A. Larson.
Glenn A. Larson. Sorry.
Not Glenn V. Larson.
I used to live down near the water and there was a boat there called the Belisarius. And I'm convinced to this day that it's Donald P. Belisario's boat.
That would be
just awesome. Thinking of other producers with their middle initial intact.
Here's a trivia question for you. You guys might have this in your notes. Do you know what that red pulsar is called on the front? Which functioned, by the way, that was scanning mode. So that they wanted that to function as Kit's eyes. Do you know what that thing was called on the show?
I know it's an anamorphic equalizer, but
that is it. Well done, Jeff. The anamorphic equalizer. Yeah, I love this car. It's so hard because like the Batmobile outwardly has a personality.
Mm-hmm.
And a silhouette and a history and a bonkers story of how it was created in just a couple of weeks by this outsized Hollywood character who'd created all these other wonderful historical cars. But Kit was a character. Kit could see, Kit could talk, Kit could crack jokes. Kit could also, by the way, 1982 Trans Am, get up to 200 miles an hour and do 0 to 60 in 2 seconds flat.
Wow.
That's a fast car.
That's a 10-second car. That is what part of the family.
I have a question. Just a little litmus test for both of you.
Yeah.
Do you remember on Knight Rider when Kit, I forget if it's like Kit falls into a vat of acid or something, but almost gets destroyed. And the end of the episode, which I'm pretty sure was like maybe a season ending cliffhanger, it was him being brought in on like a flatbed and could barely talk. Do you remember that? You remember that,
No.
Jeff? You're nodding your head. No memory of that?
I can't specifically remember that. No.
Oh, because I remember it, and I remember that like how I felt because the car was a lead in the show.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge, huge deal. The show is really about the car. Yes, David Hasselhoff. He's wonderfully David Hasselhoff-y in it. He's the perfect foil for Kit. Like they're great partners, but that's exactly the thing. They're partners. You care about this car, maybe more than any of these other cars, with the exception of Speed Buggy, who we didn't talk about, who can talk.
What was Speed Buggy?
It's a cartoon. It was like one of the many, like a weird thing.
Oh,
and a
yes.
bunch of kids solving mysteries.
Yeah, it's the one that looks like, it's the one that looks like the Little Tikes car.
Yes.
So more William Daniels trivia his name does not appear in the credits.
No?
But they just wanted to kind of keep it originally kind of like it was really like a car.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't it say Kit as himself? Wasn't that the credit?
Well, but what happened was he would be out, William Daniels, and he would talk and everyone knew that was Kit.
Yeah. Imagine being a kid and like your parents have Saint Elsewhere on.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
That car is a doctor?
I think we're going to lose this child. And you're like, what on earth?
Yeah, it's hard. I love the Batmobile. It's hard for Kit not to be the winner of this, I think. Maybe it doesn't have the silhouette, but it's got that light across. I don't know. That for me, just talking about it right now, and the fact that they could put that the cliffhanger ending of a season could be that this beloved, so frequently a beloved character being in peril is the cliffhanger ending of a season. That the cliffhanger in peril character was a car that was that beloved. Like if the Batmobile was wrecked, if the Dukes of Hazzard, if the General Lee was wrecked, it was going to be back again soon. If the Starsky and Hutch car was wrecked, it was always wrecked. But this is personal. You know what I mean? Like this car has a personality and a sense of humor.
I agree. I didn't come into this thinking that. I think I came in thinking Batman. And I remember looking at Kit and going, I love Kit, but no. But as we talked and created this criteria, like we were talking earlier, like and you started saying things and you're like, I guess based on that new opinion I have, Kit does fall into all the categories. One, It's super cool. It's got the light and it talks and it's your partner. So it's got that coolness factor and the high tech factor, but more subdued. Like, it's there and you're super cool knowing it's there.
Your wife would let you drive this up to a party.
My wife would let me drive it. She'd be like, maybe turn the light off when we pull up. Yeah.
But you bet you would go into the party and to everyone in the party be like, you want to meet Kit?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. So I concur. Kit.
Yeah. I mean, I think they've tried to reboot it twice.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't work each time for a variety of reasons. But one of the main ones is it's not Kit. Yeah. Different voice, different car. Like, it's just not, that's so imprinted. And the Batmobile, while that one is probably the one I think of first, because it was my first like Batmobile that I fell in love with. There's so many different iconic versions, whether it's the new muscle car version, whether it's Christian Bale's, the
big tank. The Tim Burton version was
the Tim Burton version. All these different Batmobiles are classic, and they're even the animated series, which kind of takes it back to that original Lincoln look. It's just, that's like one of many. Kit is one of one. There's only one Kit.
Yeah. Well, Hal, bring us home. I think we did it.
Lord, I can't believe it.
Can we talk to Kit for, like, I know you usually do the People of the World wrap up and decision, but would you mind stepping aside and letting Kit do it this time, Hal?
I think he's finishing an Atari basketball game. Let me just check.
Oh,
he's done. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Kit. So, can you render the decision for us?
Yes, People of the World. I am the greatest TV car. I have turbo boost, intelligence, and you care about me. Plus, I'm going to hang out with Sean and all those other kids on Boy Meets World and save lives at St. Elsewhere. And the guy who plays me is going to show up in a bathrobe and work for 1 hour and make more money than most of us will in our lives. And we love him for it. And that is why I, Kit, am the greatest TV car. Asked and answered.
Oh, he's gone.
And there he goes. He's gone. Look at that.
Violently. He backed out very slowly. That's
wow, he did. But he was doing that scanner thing, so he was just staring directly at us as he backed out slowly.
Keep it on a swivel.
That was fabulous.
Jeff Dwoskin, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking with us today. This was really fun. Where can people find you? What do you want them to find? Classic Conversations. We just did it. It was a blast.
Yeah.
Tell folks about it. Tell folks about what you want to, anything you want to promote. The floor is yours, my friend.
Yes.
Oh, well, I'd love for you to send me money. No, I'm just
Ooh.
Might as well go for it. No,
sure.
Classic Conversations, on Apple, the website, classic-conversations.com or jeffisfunny.com will take you to the same place. Pop culture, nostalgia, deep dives. And I got these guys on. I got tons of other folks. Burt Ward, if you want to dive into more Batman, get more Batman in your life. Tons of great stuff. There's something for everyone. Over 200 episodes. I find Jesus is there. We talked about Jesus earlier. So
Jesus and Robin.
Yeah. So, definitely check that out.
Well, thank you for being here today with us. We are so glad we got to have a double dose of Jeff today. Yeah. It's been a blast recording with you tonight. This topic is closed, but there are many more topics to discuss. So please reach out to us on Twitter at WeGotThisTweets or
email us at WeGotThisPodcast@gmail.com or go to our Facebook group. Talk about the classic TV cars that you love. That's Facebook.com/group/WeGotThisPodcast. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, who you can support at patreon.com/Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus, graphic designer Uri Kelman, and QA engineer Jen Alba.
And thanks, of course, to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, the people of the world. Get in, everybody. We're going for a drive. It is a beautiful, long road that you set us on over 400 episodes ago, and we are not stopping anytime soon. And it is all thanks to you. You're the reason we do this. You're why we get great people like Jeff on to talk about fun topics. So to you, I say thank you, thank you, thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody.
We got this.
We got this.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Audience supported.